guys, so in this video we're going to be talking about making your promise. Now this is your promise, and so I would just invite you to get out the specific things that you need. So what we're going to need is one of these envelopes with the card that matches, plus one of the black pieces, the black stripe pieces, one of these gold ribbons, this small flower decoration, and then this name card. So I'm going to get you to kind of go ahead, grab all those pieces. I'm going to just set my journal aside, and then we will make it, and I'll show you, and then we will be doing the card inside, but put this here. Kind of have everything spread all over right now. Okay, so now you're going to, okay, perfect, you can see. So we're going to take our envelope, and the envelope we're just going to leave it like this. So make sure that this side is face down, and you want to make this side face up for your card. The next thing we're going to do is we're just going to take this stripe piece, and we're going to glue it or tape it on there, whichever one that you might want to use. I'm kind of a depending on the day girl. This glue's not working, so I'm just going to use my snail tape. And I have a little different snail tape right now, but you guys will have the same thing. When my mom passed away, she had lots of scrapbooking stuff, and my sisters, because they know I love to do this stuff, gave me all her stuff, and so I have a lot of adhesive I'm just using up before the glue dries, but it's the same thing. Okay, so then we're going to, we're going to color this, but we're going to just leave it here for a minute. We're not going to put it all together, but we're going to put it all together, just not right at this second. So put this here, but don't glue it on, just put it on the top of here. We're going to move to the card because I want to show you what we're going to do with this coloring aspect as we put it together. I want to go to this piece, and this is my promise. So you're going to take your journaling pen, and if you are kind of like a little worried about your writing or messing up, then you can use a pencil and then you can erase it. I don't worry that much about it. I think writing is so important in especially something so personal. And if you make mistakes, you make mistakes. It just is what it is. It's not something that really bothers me, but for some people that is really important. So do what works for you. So you're just gonna write here, my promise. And the one reason that I love writing is because if somebody looked back on this journal, let's say in years from now, they see your writing, and your writing tells you a lot about a person, and I love it. I love writing. I love mistakes and all of my journals. I never worry about anything because that's just who I am, and when my family looks back, that's something that they're going to remember me by. So then we're going to put this over here, and we're going to wait to put it together, and we're going to go to the card. Now, in my card, you're going to see that I have some stamping on it. And you know what? This is up to you. I decided there were stamps there, so why not? So you can just fold the card on the line that's provided. And I took just the stamping block that you know, you can just use soap and water to clean your stamp. I have stamping mist that I use from Stampin' Up, but you can use soap and water, whatever works for you. And then I took the You Deserve the Best Life Has to Offer stamp, and you just place it on here. And here I just made sure it wasn't too crooked. And yeah, so now you're going to use the Stampin' Spot that came with your set, and you can just literally just make sure it's covered really well. And I try not to get around the sides, because then you could make more of a mess. So you can just see here how I just took it in the middle and just stamped it. And that's how that goes. Now, the next thing, so you're gonna want to just take your stamp, and you're gonna want to just, you can even grab a piece of paper towel with soap and water, or just water. I would, you know, I would actually probably just do water. That's what I used before I did this. And then I have kind of just a piece of paper that I stamp beside there, make sure it's clean. So it's just a regular piece of paper, and then I just stamp that off, put it back on the stamping thing. Oops. And then you're gonna wanna do the flowers. So the flowers I used was just this, and this is the one I used the most. You can tell it's really black. So that one is on your stamps as well. So you just stick it on there, and with the flower I love it because there's really no right or wrong on the flower. Like, you can make it, so I've used this one a lot, and you can really see how it has been used a lot. So you just want to cover all of the stamp with your ink spot. And then what I did was I just kind of lined it up to see where it would look the best. I'm actually going to get a piece of paper because I can see here that I am going to make a little bit of a mess here because I'm not going to be right on there. So I didn't actually try to fit the whole flower on here because I kind of like the offset look. So I just kind of put it on there. You're going to want to squish it down and make sure that you have that you've got it everywhere. And then pick that up. And then you can do the same at the top. So you're going to want to re-ink it. If you have bigger ink pads, you can use those as well. Like when I was doing mine, because I have bigger ink pads, I use the bigger ink pads. I found it a little easier, but if you just have this kit, then you just use your ink spot. That's fine too. So here you're just gonna wanna line it up again. You see that I offset this one more time, like once again. And I really, so you just gotta line it up and say what looks good for you, right? So then you have your stamped promise card. Now you're going to want to quickly just clean your stamp before we get to the next part. So if you haven't cleaned it yet, you can pause this video and then come back. Just this is why I love the videos, because you can pause them as needed. And then once I clean it, I just stamp it and make sure that it is clean, and it was. So then you can put it back on your set. You can quickly, as you can see, this was a little bit dirty, so I'm just gonna clean that off quickly, and then perfect. And I would cover your little ink spot just while we're doing this too. You don't want it to dry out. So now we're gonna move on to the coloring. So when you're making your promise, one of the things I like to do is use the coloring as an option for meditation. So we're going to color this piece, but you can see that you can also color these. I like them black and white, so I just chose to leave mine black and white. So that's how I did mine. So before we start coloring, I just want to, so you're going to need your colors, and you're going to need your blender pen. And when we're making our promise, and I want to kind of talk about this before we start coloring, and then I want you to really feel into the questions as we awaken to our promise. So our promise is, we're busy in our minds making sure that we have created and, all the promises we've made to other people, all of the things that we said we would do to other people. And you see, you have to make sure that you keep all your promises, but we often forget to give ourselves a promise. One of the big things that I found in my life, and one of the things I'll teach my clients, is that there's always things you want from people that you're hoping that they will give you. For example, when you're really frustrated with somebody, there's usually an underlying reason. So they're not making you feel a certain way. So this is actually really helpful in creating your promise. So what I want you to do is just take a minute and think of probably the top 3 people, and you can take a piece of paper, you can use your journal in the back, just don't, wherever you're going to write. I would actually just write this on maybe another piece of paper, or a journal, like a different journal than we're using, just because it's going to be all over the place. But right now, while we're doing this, or you can just think it in your mind. So the top 3 people that frustrate you, really frustrate you, and I want you to think of them. Most everybody probably has them right now. And then I want you to think the 3 reasons that they frustrate you. Do they not value you? Do they not love you? Do they not honor your time? Are they mean to you? What are the things that they do to you that frustrate you, that you feel are unfair? I want you to have 3 feelings. And then this is the essence of our promise, and if you need more time, feel free to pause the video and take as much time as you need to really go over this exercise. So now with those feelings, if we actually promise to do things to fulfill that in ourselves, let's say, for example, the people that are really frustrating you are not honoring you, they're not valuing your time, they're not being kind to you. If you almost look at it from an aspect of, what if I can offer those feelings to myself, I take away their power. And that is what the whole promise is about. It's saying, if I promise that I'm going to do the things, and this is just the promise of the feelings. We're going to move farther into this in my vibrational alignment. What is the promise that you want to take? And these feelings are going to come in the letters, the vibrational alignment. So these feelings are really important. So if you need more time, make sure to pause the video. Now, your promise to you is that you are going to offer those to yourself. Now, my promise was, I promise to honor my physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional bodies, to listen, offer compassion, love, and fulfillment to their needs. Now, one of the things I found was the people that were frustrating me the most were not offering me compassion, and I felt that they really weren't honoring me and loving me as a person, and that didn't make me fulfilled. So instead of being frustrated with them, I decided to make a promise to myself that I'm going to make sure that I promise to do that for myself. When I looked on my life, it was that I was wanting other people to fill those needs. And even though there was many people that were doing that, I was focusing on those who weren't. And so that was really that reflection for me to say, I know with my spiritual work that if I do the things I need to love, honor, and and offer compassion to my own mind, body, spirit, that those wouldn't be triggers for me anymore. So now I want you to, I'm going to write this under this video. So you're going to, I'm going to promise to ... And that promise is going to be, what is it going to be for you? Now, again, mine is, I promise to honor my physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional bodies, to listen, offer compassion, love, and fulfillment to their needs. Now, as you're thinking about this, I would really, this is where the coloring can really help, because you can just quiet your mind and allow yourself to color. So while you're making your promise, if you know it, you can kind of write down on a different piece of paper, maybe ideas that you have. And then we're going to go ahead and start to color. Now, I'm going to kind of go over a couple of the things to the coloring aspect. And then I invite you to pause this video and do it at your own time and write your promise at your own time. I just am going to kind of show you how the blender pen works, all of these things. So when you're coloring, you don't hear me chatting, you don't hear, your mind's not asked to do anything except really focusing on your promise to you. This is about what you need and promising yourself that you're going to work on that to fulfill, to be your own best friend, right? So I would invite you to watch this first and then pause it and then create your promise. So guys, you can decide your color pattern. This is the pattern that I used. I'm going to show you the difference too, because I'm a big blender pen person. Now the blender pen is filled. It already has ingredients in there to blend it. The reason we're going to use a blender pen instead of like a water painter or like an aqua painter is because this is a thin paper and you're going to want it will make it too soggy. So the blender pen won't. It will blend it nicely, but it won't cause the paper to be all like too wet and then it crinkles. So what I did was, you know, you have your light pink, your dark pink, your light green, your dark green. So I started doing all of these with the light pink. And I'm just going to do a few of them and then you'll kind of catch on to that. Now, I want to just show you the difference. So here, you're going to see just if you color it. Now that looks really nice, but now look at it with, actually I'm going to do one with a blender pen, one without, right side by side. And then we're going to do some shading. Now I always start off lighter and then I shade darker, and I'm going to show you that as well. And I do my blending before I shade darker. So and I love the blending because it just even, like when you're sitting here and this is why I think it's really important to pause the video and do it while I'm not chatting, because I find this whole thing very meditative. So now I want you to kind of just look at the difference between the blended and the not blended. To me, this is why I always include the blender pen, because if that was me, I'd be like, I need a blender pen. I love it. I love how subtle it is. I love how it looks a little more watercolor. It's just, to me, I absolutely love it. So I'm also going to do, now I take this the dark one, and I do all these little buds dark. And I'm going to do one with the blender pen and one without the blender pen. And I did this or this. I really like the, and I'm not super artistic. This is why I love coloring with these. I love coloring, but I'm not a big drawer, but I do love artistic looks. I love doing this, and that's why I love stamping, because I get to the opportunity to do more coloring and artistic work without, and not having to be hard on myself that I'm not an artist. Well, I'm not a drawer artist. Now, the one thing I'll tell you about your blender pen, now you're going to want to take that and you're going to want to go until it's clean. Because if you did the green now with that or another color, it would be stuck on there. So make sure you do that. And then I'm going to go into the leaves and then I'll show you. So what I do with the leaves is I use the lighter color. And this is my favorite part of the is shading, which I'll show you after. So I color in all the leaves. And then I use the blender pen again. I love the blender pen, so and I'll show you the difference because I'm doing one side without and one side with. And then make sure you do that with that blender pen. And then I take my dark green and I go around this middle and the side and I shade it because I love that look. It just adds a little more depth. And I just love the shading of the darker. So I'm just going to quickly go over this other side and I'll show you the difference up close when the difference between the blender pen and just coloring. It's very subtle, but I love it. So you can tell the difference, guys, here of the shaded and the blending versus not. It's just, it's just a little different. So whatever is perfect for you is perfect for you. It's all about centering in and really listening to your soul, really listening to what you really want to create. Now, another great option when you're doing this is to, if you have my Divine Helpers program, or if you want to get it, it's all online, and it's another great way of clearing your energy and working with the angels. Now, another simple, as you could do your promise, and what I would do if you were working with that program with the promise is the Archangel Michael. And one of the reasons that I would use the Archangel Michael one is because Archangel Michael would be able to cut and clear your energy around all the energetic cords around other people. And when you have energetic cords around other people, now cords of love can never be cut, and only cords of codependency, and then you kind of almost release that guilt. Or maybe you work with Archangel Michael already and you feel like you can really work with him in the way that you work with him and say, okay, I'm going to connect to the light. I'll actually include that meditation here to connect to the light. That's a really great idea. So I'm going to, so that we can connect to the light and cut those cords so that you can get in a better frame of mind. That's another option, and I'll include that here under the video. If you want to connect to the light, then start your coloring process and your promise process and really create a promise that's perfect for you. There is no right or wrong time, so take your time to, every step of the journal is a very personal part of your growth and discovery for your soul. So make sure that you are taking the time you need to do it, and if ever you have questions, you can reach out on my social media or on or email and let me know. Enjoy making your promise. This is a really big deal, guys, to put pen to paper with your own, handwriting, your own promise, and really promising to yourself, I got you, right? It's a beautiful, I have chills right now. I'm so excited. I love this so much. So enjoy your promise. And if you want to share your promise with me, I would absolutely love to hear it. Talk soon. Bye for now.